अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीमती गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोकुल गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरिगोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन की जय। नाम की जय। मथुराम की जय। जगन्नाथ धाम की जय। भक्ति देव की जय। तुलसी देव की जय। यमुनामयी की जय। गंगामयी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gaur.
side?
No?
Shall we do reading side by side? We don't. I think we will be okay with this one.
The charging is there? Should we leave it here itself?
Hare Krishna devotees. So we will begin our Bhagavad Gita class group style, and we will be studying from Bhagavad Gita as it is. This one today we'll study Macmillan edition, and I'll put it on the screen. And we will be studying chapter 17, from text 5, and we'll go until text 15. So this chapter is entitled The Divisions of Faith. Divisions of Faith. Okay. 17:16 will be tomorrow's verse. Yeah, but you can write tomorrow's. So, chapter 17, text 5 through 6. But I always forget to do this. We'll read the introduction prayers first. So, that's on page 1. Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyuta Parakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Janagorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Bhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Eva Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll be reading chapter 17, text 5 and 6. We will read the Sanskrit altogether, followed by the translation. Ashastra vihitam ghoram tapanyante ye tapojanaha dambhahakara samyukta kamaraga balanvitaha कर्षायप्तः शरीरास्थं भूतग्रामान् अचेतसः मां चैवन्तः शरीरास्थं Tan vidhe asura nischayan. Translation: those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride, egotism, lust, and attachment, who are impelled by passion and who torture their bodily organs as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Text 7. आहारास्त्वा अपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञास्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदाम् इमां शृणु. Translation: even food of which all partake is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, and I shall tell you of the distinctions of these. Text 8 to 10. Ayu sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhanaha rashya snigdha sthira hridya ahara sattvika priyaha Katvayamla lavanyatya ushna tikshna ruksha vidanihinaha ahara raja sasyestha dukha sokamaya pradaha yatayamam gatarasam puti paryaushritam chayat उच्छिष्टमपि चामेन्धयां भोजनां तामसप्रियाम्. Translation: foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by people in the modes of passion. Such foods cause pain, distress, and disease. Food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by people in the mode of ignorance. Text 11.
Apalankang shiviryagyo vidhidishto ya ejyate yashtavyam eveti mana mamadhaya sasatvikaha. Of sacrifices, that sacrifice performed according to duty and to scriptural rules, and with no expectation of reward, is of the nature of goodness. Pass. Number 12.
12. Abhisandahaya tu paplam dambratamapi chaiva yat ijayate brarata sarestha tam yajnam virahi rajasam. Translation: but that sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit or performed ostentationally out of pride is of the nature of passion, O chief of the Bharatas.
So, text 13. Vidihinam asrishtanam mantrahinam adakshinam Shraddha virahitam yagyam tamasam parichakshate. And that sacrifice performed in defiance of scriptural injunctions, in which no spiritual food is distributed, no hymns are chanted, and no remunerations are made to the priests, and which is faithless, that sacrifice is of the nature of ignorance.
Text 14. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Saucham Arjanam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Translation. The austerity of the body consists in this: worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence are also austerities of the body. Text 15. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Translation. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. So we will go back to chapter 17, text 5. And now we'll take turns and we will read the translation followed by the purport. So text 5 and 6, translation. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances, not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride, egotism, lust, and attachment, who are impelled by passion and who torture their bodily organs, as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There are persons who manufacture modes of austerity and penances which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions. For instance, fasting for some ulterior purpose, such as to promote a purely political end, is not mentioned in the scriptural directions. The scriptures recommend fasting for spiritual advancement, not for some political end or social purpose. Persons who take to such austerities are, according to the Bhagavad Gita, certainly demoniac. Their acts are against the scriptural injunction and are not beneficial for the people in general. Actually, they act out of pride, false ego, lust, and attachment for material enjoyment. By such activities, not only are the combination of material elements of which body is constructed disturbed, but also the supreme personality of Godhead Himself living within the body. Such unauthorized fasting or austerities for some political end are certainly very disturbing to others. They are not mentioned in the Vedic literature. A demonic person may think that he can force his enemy or other parties to comply with his desire by this method, but sometimes one dies by such fasting. These acts are not approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he says that those who engage in them are demons. Such demonstrations are insults to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are enacted in disobedience to the Vedic scriptural injunctions. The word achetashaha is significant in this connection. Persons of normal mental condition must obey the scriptural injunctions. Those who are not in such a position neglect and disobey the scriptures and manufacture their own way of austerities and penances. One should always remember the ultimate end of demonic people as described in the previous chapter. The Lord forces them to take birth in the womb of demoniac persons. Consequently, they will live by demoniac principles life after life without knowing their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If, however, such persons are fortunate enough to be guided by a spiritual master who can direct them to the path of Vedic wisdom, they can get out of this entanglement and ultimately achieve the supreme goal.
Text 7. Translation. Even food of which all partake is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, and I shall tell you of the distinctions of these. Purport. In terms of different situations and the modes of material nature, there are differences in the manner of eating, performing sacrifices, austerities, and charities. They are not all conducted on the same level. Those who can understand analytically what kind of performances are in what modes of material nature are actually wise. Those who consider all kinds of sacrifice or foods or charity to be the same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. There are missionary workers who advocate that one can do whatever he likes and attain perfection. But these foolish guides are not acting according to the direction of the scripture. They are manufacturing ways and misleading the people in general. Pass.
Eight.
Yes.
Translation. Foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by people in the modes of passion. Such foods cause pain, distress, dis-ease. Food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by people in the mode of ignorance. Purport. The purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. This is its only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor. Fatty foods, as mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. Milk, butter, cheese, and in similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of the subhumans. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. Foods in the mode of passion which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper cause misery by producing mucus in the stomach, leading to dis-ease. Foods in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be the mode of darkness because they are decomposing. Such foods give a bad odor, which often attracts people in the mode but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord, or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foodstuffs, although very palatable, the persons in the mode of darkness are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food is the remnant of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says that he accepts preparations of vegetables, flour, and milk. When offered with devotion, patram, puspam, phalam, toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. But it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunction of the scripture offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, edible, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Uh, Text 11. Translation. Of sacrifices, that sacrifice performed according to duty and to scriptural rules and with no expectation of reward is of the nature of goodness. Purport. The general tendency is to offer sacrifice with some purpose in mind, but here it is stated that sacrifice should be performed without any such desire. It should be done as a matter of duty. Take, for example, the performance of rituals in temples or in churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but this is not in the mode of goodness. But that is not in the mode of goodness. One should go to the temple or church as a matter of duty. Offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offer flowers and eatables. Everyone thinks that there is no use in going to the temple just to worship God. But worship for economic benefit is not recommended in the scriptural injunction. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity that will place one in the mode of goodness. It is duty of every civilized man to obey the injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the supreme personality of Godhead.
Text 12. But that sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit, or performed ostentatiously out of pride, is of the nature of passion, O chief of the Bharatas. Purport. Sometimes sacrifices and rituals are performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom or for some material benefits in this world. Such sacrifices or ritualistic performances are considered to be in the mode of passion.
Text 13. And that sacrifice performed in defiance of the scriptural injunctions in which no spiritual food is distributed, no hymns are chanted, and no remunerations are made to the priests. and which is faithless. That sacrifice is of the nature of ignorance. Purport. Faith in the mode of darkness or ignorance is actually faithlessness. Sometimes people worship some demigod just to make money and then spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scriptural injunctions. Such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They are all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demonic mentality, do not benefit human society.
Translation: the austerity of the body consists in this: worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the mother and father. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence are also austerities of the body. Purport: the Supreme Godhead here explains the different kind of austerity and penance. First, he explains the austerities and penances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect qualified brahmanas, and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother, or any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. These should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally, and he should learn to become simple in behavior. He should not do anything which is not sanctioned by the scriptural injunction. He should not indulge in sex outside of married life, for sex is sanctioned in the scripture only in marriage, not otherwise. This is called celibacy. These are the penances and austerities as far as the body is concerned.
Text 15. Translation. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially, and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. Purport. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statements must be upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up when he is what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. This is a limitless stock of there is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech.
So that concludes the reading. So now we can take a few minutes to discuss our reflections. The reflection that I thought was really on my mind was in text number 10. And yeah, it was that Prabhupada in the purport, he makes sure that there's a distinction between prasadam and foods which have not been offered. And he makes the distinction twice in the purport. And then he eventually ends up coming to the very beautiful bhakti conclusion, which is that you know, the best food stuff is that which is offered to Krishna, which is of a transcendental nature. So even prasadam, if it's old, it's still transcendental. And if you can turn it like this, and do this part, you can turn it. Yeah, it's good. So food which has been offered to Krishna with love and devotion, which is in the category of goodness. So those are the distinctions, that Krishna eats food which is in the mode of goodness, and when it's offered with love and devotion to him, then it becomes prasadam. And this prasadam, it never goes down to the mode of ignorance, even when it gets old, which is nice. And actually, if there's an etiquette, which is that when one is offered a prasadam, then then basically he should accept it. The quantity, though, is, we may be full or we may not need anymore. So then, of course, it's reasonable to politely honor the prasadam in our mind, or honor the prasadam with our eyes, or honor the prasadam with our by saying, with our voice. We may glorify the prasadam to honor it. We may not always ingest it. That one takes some time for some of us. But the point I was trying to say is that there was a story, there was a Leela where Lord Chaitanya was bringing some prasadam from one of the temples of Lord Jagannath. So Lord Jagannath is here in this painting. He's Krishna, so he's very black, very blackish, and he has very large eyes in this form. And he's with his sister Subhadra and his brother Balaram. So there's a temple called in Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya was having pastimes at that place. He would daily go and offer his respects to the deity, Lord Jagannath. So, and the prasadam of the deity by the devotees, it's as good as the deity. It's as good as Krishna. The Krishna prasadam is as good as Krishna. So the devotees learn to respect it, and they have so much affection for it, and they also share it amongst themselves to exchange love between themselves. So he brought it to his friend and his superior, Advaita Acharya. So in this picture, we see Advaita Acharya with a big beard, and he was basically old enough to be their grandfathers, but he was the most vigorous dancer. So goes to show that when one is electrified with the Krishna consciousness, then they can transcend the bodily platform. But Advaita Acharya was in bed when Lord Chaitanya came with the prasadam, and Lord Chaitanya woke up Advaita Acharya and said, "I have this prasadam for you." And he immediately put it in his mouth. He ate it right away without washing and just taking a bath or brushing his teeth or anything. And Lord Chaitanya was so pleased that he had that much respect for the prasadam. So even though he had traveled, actually, I was visiting to that area, and the temple where Lord Jagannath was and Lord Chaitanya was, it's not very close to Jagannath, to Shantipur, which is where Advaita Acharya lives. And actually, I'll pull it up on a map. Can you do that, Prabhu? You go search here, map. Great amount. We'll find we'll show the distance here. Shantipur and Jagannath Puri. So he had traveled by foot at that time, or at maximum ox cart. And so it was definitely been a while, but still he appreciated it that much. Okay. It's 10 hours by car. So let's see the walking there. Directions. Just 5 days walk. So zoom in there. Let's see what it will look like. Click on it. Yep. Oh, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took it? So as a correction, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya honored the prasadam from Lord Chaitanya. Thank you so much, Marsh. So he was walking 120 hours. You can see here, he went to the north. So in India, many times there's different types of prasadam. Also here, which is like a bread or something, so it can. But even if the prasadam is apparently past its time, it's still transcendental. So depending on our situations, we can bury the prasadam or give it to the cows or the birds or the fish. Or if it still looks good and we present it nicely, then we can also share it with our friends. Anyway, so that was the story. I thought that was a nice point that Prabhupada wanted to make sure that the prasadam is in a different category, but only only foods in the mode of goodness can become prasadam because Krishna doesn't eat other types of foods. So that was my reflection. So then I'll pass it on. Ajit Prabhu, you have something?
Hare Krishna. So, like after reading the chapter 17, there are a few things which I felt is important, especially the verse text 14. Like we all hear about austerities, austerity of the body, austerity of speech, and then here when the text talks about what are the austerities of the body. So they essentially focus on the worship of the Supreme Lord, then the spiritual master, and also superiors like father, mother. So essentially, as there is a statement, like we all hear, no pain, no gain. So therefore, even in a spiritual context, when we perform austerities, which are in the mode of goodness and directed towards a higher cause, that eventually creates a conducive environment for us to take and go ahead with spiritual life much more tangible in a tangible way. So like when you talk of spirituality, it's not that it is dry, but it is driven by something which is meaningful, something which is tangible. So when we do something, we also see the reflection or the associated benefits what we get out of it. For example, when we are clean, when we are simple, when we like practice celibacy, non-violence, so therefore the mind becomes purified and it will also remain clean. So what goes, like there's a principle, you might have heard of GIGO principle, GIGO, that means good in, good out, garbage in, garbage out. So what we are putting in essentially will determine what is coming out of it. So if we put good in, or let us go beyond that. Let us say when we put something which is transcendental into ourselves, the transcendental will always come out. So in that way, austerities surely help us regulate, and they provide us a required determination and strength, and rather they act as a positive feedback for us to practice sadhana much more better. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Okay. Would you like to share something? Your thoughts? No? You have anything?
Hare Krishna. It's a blessing to be here. Thank you. I was actually visiting some of these chapters recently, and the one that sticks out to me is the one where it's saying how we can sometimes torture our organs and the super soul inside of us. Maybe, we sometimes don't realize that we're doing that sometimes. We don't realize that we're not taking care of ourselves the best or doing things the best sometimes, and that does affect us. It's something that I find a lot of people can get unconscious about, and it's something they don't really think about until there's some damage, and but it can be reversed, and it's that's just something I was reading not too long ago. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, thank you very much. It's very nice. So you have anything that stuck out, or did you want to read some part again, Mr. C, that you liked?
Recite the Vedas regularly.
It's very fun. Okay, so then let's jump in. Let's try to do the next text. Maybe Maharaj will want to add something now. No, not this time. Yeah, so I apologize about that. I had some misunderstanding about the Leela. So actually I have to research exactly where Sarvabhauma received the prasadam, because Maharaj corrected me. It wasn't Advaita Acharya that got it. It was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, which is a different senior of Lord Chaitanya. So he may have not traveled that far. But it is recorded that they would travel, the residents of Navadvip, which is where Lord Chaitanya was from, for a few years in a row, they would go travel to Puri to be with Lord Chaitanya for the festival where they put Jagannath on the cart. And at that time, they would send a lot of prasadam that way. So let's read text 16 real quick. Last one. We can chant the Sanskrit all together. Mana prasada somyatam monam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhir ityetat tapo mana samuchyate. And serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought are the austerities of the mind. Purport. To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. And so there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealing and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities altogether constitute austerity in mental activities. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.